Good day, Doc Batukan. I am Joy Agot Merced, and I hereby present to you my statistical paper entitled Sinugbuan ng Binisaya Instruction, Challenges Encountered in the Implementation of Mother Tongue-Based Multilingual Education at Salag Elementary School, School Year 2022 to 2023. Here's my table of contents starting from introduction down to statement of problem, followed by methodology, results and discussion, conclusions and recommendations, to references and appendices. Let's start from introduction. Our educational system in the Philippines has been gradually changing since the implementation of RA 10533, better known as Enhanced Basic Education Act of 2013, giving way to the new medium of instruction, the mother tongue. Negros Oriental adapts Sinugbuan ng Binisaya instruction for its divisions and districts. It's given more emphasis by the teaching force for kindergarten and grades 1 to 3 throughout the province. Mother tongue is the first language that a child learns from birth. According to Michael Swan 2005, children who begin their education in their mother tongue make a better start and continue to perform better. This established notion inspired the researcher to conduct a study to find out whether parents and teachers have contradictory or identical beliefs to the above-mentioned view. This study further explores the challenges that exist related to the implementation of MTB-MLE in SES school year 2022 to 2023. This research hopes to contribute information to stakeholders to be aware of the outcomes of the study, whether positive or negative. Regardless of the result, hopefully, this matter will make it into the limelight so that concerned individuals will enact suitable moves, all for the improvement of teaching in Sinugbuan ng Binisaya. Statement of the problem. The main objective of the study is to reveal the challenges encountered of K-3 teachers and parents in Salag Elementary School, school year 2022 to 2023, related to the implementation of mother tongue-based multilingual education. The specific objectives are the following. 1. What do teachers and parents believe about the outcomes of MTB-MLE in terms of the effects of Sinugbuan ng Binisaya literacy, language of instruction, and content-based understanding? 2. What are the views of teachers and parents about the importance of Sinugbuan ng Binisaya literacy? Number 3. What are the teachers' perceptions of implementing MTB-MLE in the classroom? 4th, how do teachers and parents demonstrate support and resistance of MTB-MLE? And lastly, what are the challenges that exist related to the implementation of MTB-MLE in Salag Elementary School, school year 2022 to 2023? Methodology. This part of the study includes the research design, data gathering procedure, and statistical analysis of data. The selection of teachers, the parents, the environment, and instruments are also discussed. Research design. The research study used the descriptive method of research. Descriptive research is simply the attempt to determine, describe, or identify various aspects of phenomenon or behavior of sample population. This study is a mixed method research that involves quantitative and qualitative study. Research respondents. This study purposely selected participants. Purposive sampling technique were used in determining the number of informants for this study. The study was conducted among the elementary teachers of Salag Elementary School and selected parents in each grade level from kindergarten to grades 1, 2, and 3. So there are 7 professional public elementary teachers and 20 parents were approached to request their voluntary involvement as key participants of the sampling. So as shown in the screen, there are 7 teachers, 1 from kindergarten, and 2 teachers from each grade levels 1, 2, and 3. From the parents, there are 20 selected parents, 10 males and 10 females. As kindergarten and grade 2, there are 2 males and 3 females. In grades 1 and 3, there were 3 males and 2 females. Research environment. So the study was conducted at Salag Elementary School. The school is a DepEd managed rural and public kinder elementary school located at Salag Shaton, Negros Oriental. Research instrument. So there are 2 instruments that were used, which were made by the researcher: a research-made survey and a written reflection for both teachers and parents. So as you can see, this is the teacher survey. It has 4 sections. First section is the demographics, where it asks its school, the grade they teach, their gender, and the position. Section 2 is a language learning composed of 6 questions that is in a Likert scale, where they show how strongly they agree or disagree with the statements. From 1 to 4, 1 a strongly disagree, 2 disagree, 3 agree, and 4 strongly agree. Section 3 talks about the classroom instruction. It has only 1 question with 4 subcomponents. It is still in a Likert scale with from 1 to 4. 1 is not important, 2 somewhat important, 3 important, and 4 very important. And lastly, the 4th section, which is the implementation, they only have to put a check mark on the answers that are best or it's appropriate to their experiences during the implementation of K-12. So there are 4 questions for this section. When it comes to the parent survey, there are only 3 sections. First section is the demographics, to be filled by the parent, where the school attended by their child, the current grade of their child, and the gender of the parent. Section 2, language learning, is still the same. It has the same content with the teacher survey. It has 6 questions in a Likert scale from 1 to 4. And same thing goes to section 3, classroom instruction, the same with the content of the teacher survey. It has 1 question with 4 subcomponents, Likert scale from 1 to 4. The only difference between the 2 survey is that the parent survey does not have a section for implementation because it can only be seen in the teacher survey. The second instrument is also a research-made written reflection form for both teachers and parents. So this is the Appendix D form for teachers. It has 3 questions. First, ask about the ways they show their support towards MTB-MLE in their class. 2 is the ways how they show resistance of MTB-MLE while teaching their class. And lastly, the challenges that they have encountered upon the implementation of MTB-MLE in their class. So they can cite challenges or situations they have encountered, as many as they can. So same thing goes for the parents' reflection form. The way they support, the way they show resistance, the challenge they've encountered. However, its sphere of influence is at home. Okay? Data collection procedures. After the validation of the instrument and acquiring permission from the instructor of Ed 601 with the approval of Salag Elementary School school principal, the researcher distributed the questionnaires to the teachers and purposely selected 5 parents in each grade level. So 5 from kindergarten, 5 from grade 1, 5 from grade 2, 5 from grade 3. A consent form was attached to the survey form for parents and was voluntarily signed by respondents, while confidentiality of their profiles were considered. Researcher explained thoroughly to the respondents for the purpose of the survey to ensure full support from them and also for the completeness of data needed in the study. Both instrument, the research-made survey and written reflection form, shall be administered in order to reveal the challenges encountered of K to 3 teachers in Salag Elementary School related to the implementation of MTB-MLE, and also examine the ways in which teachers and parents believe and enact the MTB-MLE policy. So after answering the questionnaire, it will be retrieved by the researcher. So the questionnaires retrieved will be checked, tallied, interpreted, and analyzed. The data gathered will complete the study of the researchers. Statistical treatment of data. First is the frequency and percentage distribution. It is a display of data that specifies the percentage of observations that exist for each data point or grouping of data points. The frequency of each response will be determined by the number of the respondents who will encircle or check in the particular item. So the process of creating frequency and percentage distribution involves identifying the total number of observations presented and counting the total number of observations within each data or grouping of data points. Percentage and frequency distribution were used to show the distribution of parents and teachers in a particular range with respect to their views, beliefs, and perceptions about the outcomes of Sinugbuanong Binisaya literacy. The second one is the Likert scale. This research tool is useful in analyzing the answers of the respondents because there is a corresponding meaning of each point scale. It is a type of rating scale used to measure the teachers' and parents' beliefs and enacts of the respondents about MTB-MLE. So this scale is used to understand respondents' ratings to a series of statements to determine the cognitive and affective domain. It is a 4-point scale that allows respondents to rate each item based on their level of agreement. And lastly is a thematic analysis method. This is stressed by Braun and Clark 2006, a method that is used to find and analyze the emerging themes in a dataset to unravel the themes, meanings, and essences of the experiences of an individual. So the thematic analysis method was used to identify, analyze, and report repeated patterns about the parents' and teachers' views, opinions, knowledge, and experiences of how they demonstrate their support and resistance for MTB-MLE and the challenges existed related to it. Results and discussions. So this chapter reports on the findings and results from the current study. It is organized by research question in order to present fully the themes that emerged within the category. So these categories include teachers and parents, belief about policy outcomes, support and resistance to the reform, and challenges for implementation. Research question number 1. What do teachers and parents believe about the outcomes of MTB-MLE in terms of 1.1 The effects of Sinugbuanong Binisaya literacy? Teachers and parents appear to see the benefits of being able to read and write Sinugbuanong Binisaya instruction, which was confirmed in the survey data presented on the screen. So as shown in the table 1, teachers and parents agreed that Sinugbuanong Binisaya literacy would positively impact English proficiency with 71.43% for teachers and 75% for parents. And school performance with 85.71% for teachers and 85% for parents. And for English literacy, 57.14% for teachers and 75% for the parents. In terms of raw numbers, the question related to school performance have the highest levels of agreement in both stakeholders, the teachers and the parents. But the differences were slight. So teachers and parents responded similarly These responses point to favorable viewpoints toward the outcomes of MTB-MLE. 1.2 in terms of language of instruction. In addition, most teachers' responses discounted the claim that sinugbuanong binisay instruction would have a negative impact on learning English, with 28.57%, or that an English-only method would produce better English results with 42.86%. So parents' beliefs were more equally divided about their beliefs on their learning English, with 20% and 10%. In terms of 1.3 content-based learning, almost 86% of teachers and 85% of parents agreed that learning math and science in Sinugbuanong Binisaya instruction helps students do better on those subjects. So this statement received the highest level of agreement of all the terms on the survey that was assessed language learning beliefs. So teachers and parents shared the same perception about the positive outcome of Sinugbuanong Binisaya instruction on content understanding. Research question number 2. What are the views of teachers and parents about the importance of Sinugbuanong Binisaya literacy? So amidst of the new language education reform, teachers and parents demonstrated evidence of strong overt support and subtle covert resistance. On the surface, which was confirmed in the survey data presented on the screen, they responded favorably to the aspects of MTB-MLE policy. So majority of the participants believe that reading, writing, speaking, and listening in Sinugbuanong Binisaya instruction was important for the kindergarten and grade 1 to 3 learners. So in table 4, particularly teachers and parents showed strong value toward reading with 57.14% and 80% respectively, writing 57.14% and 75% respectively, speaking 71.43% and 85% respectively, and listening is 57.14% and 75% in Sinugbuanong Binisaya. Research question number 3. What are the teachers' perceptions of implementing Sinugbuanong Binisaya instruction in the classroom? Teachers' general views of these challenges were reflected in their perceptions of the feasibility of the classroom implementation through the survey data collected as presented on the screen. So most teachers stated that they were only somewhat prepared or not prepared to implement the mother tongue based in the classroom, with 71.43%, with about percentage saying that it would be somewhat different or very difficult to do so, with 57.14%. Most perceived MTB-MLE to involve lots of extra work, with 57.14%, and majority said that it was very difficult from the previous policy, with 42.86%. Research question number 4. How do teachers and parents demonstrate support and resistance for MTB-MLE? As this section shows, teachers and parents' responses was noted in a qualitative data through the research-made written reflection form numbers 1 and 2 that appeared to be influenced by the expectations set forth by DepEd. Their high regard for the components of MTB-MLE directly aligns with the policy requirements. However, teachers and parents demonstrated quite forms of resistance that they did not explicitly discuss. They did not recognize their words and actions as such, but their underlying ideologies about the value of English showed through in their practices. First, let's talk about how they show their support towards MTB-MLE. They ultimately claimed to support the policy because it is an order from DepEd. It pointed that policy was their guide and said they had no choice but to implement according to the expectations from DepEd. So these are the themes or the repeated themes that was evident in all sources that was gathered. So teachers demonstrated massive efforts to create new materials and plan lessons as they created new bulletin boards, reading materials, and lesson plans in order to abide the policy. Parents expressed a view that support is associated with acceptance of the reform by helping learners with homework and assisting in translation of unfamiliar academic terms. So while teachers and parents both demonstrated their support in relation to policy compliance, they operated within different spheres of influence. Teachers' actions were carried out in the classroom, while parents' actions were focused in the home. Next is how they show resistance towards MTB. Even if they have abided by the basic expectations of the policy, their beliefs about MTB-MLE shaped to the extent which they implemented the policy. So teachers' demonstrations of resistance included minor adjustments of their teaching in order to align their beliefs with their classroom practice. So in math classes, it was the common site for resistance. Most of the teachers used English terminology to convey the meaning better to learners. They simply did not know the necessary Sinugbuanong Binisaya terminology for math concepts. So the curriculum requires learners to use Sinugbuanong Binisaya numbers, but the reality made it challenge. Some of the teachers described instances where learners defaulted to the English numbers because it was more comfortable. For example, is the place value that was being taught in all grade 1 to 3 math classes. None of the teachers used the Sinugbuanong Binisaya word for place value. Rather, they only said it in English. However, they did say tinagpulo and ginatos, but frequently followed by the English translation of tens place and hundreds place. So this demonstrates the classroom level adaptations made by the teachers to both meet the policy requirements and serve their students. So some parents commented that they work with their children at home to develop English proficiency. So while they did not see it worthwhile to fight the policy, parents shared some strategies of reading English and Filipino texts in the evenings to build skills in those languages. Others stated that they incorporated English and Filipino vocabulary into conversations at home in order to compensate for it not being taught at school. Research question number 5. What challenges exist related to implementation of MTB-MLE in Salag Elementary School school year 2022 to 2023? So the perceived challenges of a reform may affect its ability to be implemented at the ground level. These statistics are best understood in the context of the qualitative data. So there are 4 primary themes that emerge in the qualitative data that is based on the research made written reflection form for both teachers and parents at question number 3. So these are the themes that emerge in the qualitative data that provide deeper insight into the rationale for these quantitative responses, especially in the implementation in research question number 3. So these are the lack of references written in mother tongue, discrepancy of learning materials content, lack of vocabulary, and unfamiliarity of terms and books. So the teacher participants were labeled as T1, T2 until T7, while the parent participants were labeled as P1, P2, P3 until P20. So let's start with the first theme. Lack of references written in mother tongue. So this is a condition of having insufficient references, such as the textbooks, the books, dictionaries, and the like in the mother tongue, which are needed to accommodate the needs of the learners having different mother tongues. So the participants emphasize that they really need books and other references written in mother tongue so that they will be able to teach mother tongue successfully. So here are the following statements that they have written in the reflection form. For teacher number 1, it says, the learner's material are not enough, particularly the books written in mother tongue, only given thin books for the letters of the alphabet, synonyms, antonyms, but the learners don't have a copy of these materials. For teacher number 6, they only print the 3rd and 4th quarter lessons, for they really lack materials. There are only 17 learners material given for every sections. Participant number 10, they are not sure, the parent number 10, not sure of the terms we encounter because of lacking materials presented by their teacher. They often utilized English and Filipino materials instead as they were already present at home. So, books are the most needed materials in the process of a learning process of the learners. Teaching and learning cannot be effective without adequate and relevant use of instructional materials. In implementing MTB-MLE, goals are not being attained if there is deficiency of materials needed, specifically the references. Hence, there is a need for the provision of the books and instructional materials that are helpful to the learning of pupils, which will increase their understanding. So according to Malone 2007, he stated that literacy can only be maintained if there is an adequate supply of reading materials and references. The second theme that emerged was the discrepancy of learning materials content. So learning materials can significantly increase learners' achievement by supporting learning. So the availability, adequacy, consistency, and relevance of the contents in the learning materials can influence the teaching quality, which can have positive effects on learners' learning and academic performance. So standards differ, and it's important to address the inconsistencies of cobbling together learning content from unrelated online resources. Here are the following statements that support this theme. For teacher number 4, there are learning competencies in the curriculum guide that are not found in the learner's material. They will have to access the internet to search for the website called LMRDS. Teacher number 7, when I went over with the contents inside their textbook in this subject, there were pages that showed some typographical errors. Parent number 11, sometimes their homework do not jive with the lessons found in the learner's material. And parent number 2, I am worried that my son won't be able to comprehend some words well because he once told me that he noticed some words that has more meaning, such as the word baga, ember, thick, or lungs, and it made him confused sometimes. So the participants in this of that the learner's material and the teacher's guide do not coincide with each other. The discrepancies of the lessons and learning competencies are found between these two materials. They refer to the curriculum guide if there are discrepancies of the lessons between learner's material and in teacher's guide, for it is more reliable to follow. And also, to avoid confusion when it comes to the learning materials. Third theme is the lack of vocabulary. So there's no wide range of words or phrases used in discussing the lessons using mother tongue. Therefore, it is considered as one of the problems being encountered by the teachers and parents. So here are the following statements. By parent number 16, my son told me that he is having difficulty in understanding the subject, even if it is in our dialect. There were deep words which are hard to comprehend. Teacher number 2, as a teacher, we need to know other languages, for not all pupils can understand Cebuano Binisaya. But there are instances that whenever we translate Tagalog or English terms, we have difficulty in looking for its equivalent in mother tongue. Parent number 20, there's a little motivation for them. That is why I sometimes see my daughter's face in frustration because of not being able to comprehend well with the sentences she reads. Teacher number 5, I do sometimes run out of vocabulary whenever I explain the difficult terms with the pupils. So they cannot say that they have enough vocabulary, especially that their learners are not fluent in lingua franca, and not all words from the target language have equivalent terms in the first language. So in addition, the respondents are experiencing difficulties in teaching their learners because they cannot think of the right word that is exactly the equivalent of the source language, putting them in a situation that will bring confusion to the learners. And last theme was the unfamiliarity of terms in books. So this difficulty is expressed by both teachers and parents. The participants said that they have problems on the content of the books provided to them. So these books contain difficult and sometimes inappropriate words which the learners cannot understand. Following statements that support this are the following. Teacher number 3, sometimes I ask my colleagues whenever there are terms I don't understand so that I can explain to the pupils in an easier manner. Parent number 13, there are incomprehensible terms found in the books, and because for me, the authors of these learning materials are not from our locale. Parent number 6, the terms found in my child's module do not jive with the terms used in our mother tongue. It confuses her. So the concern of the parent is that the learners cannot understand some of the words for the author come from different locale. So though a native speaker of Sinugbuanong Binisaya, the author's language differ from the Sinugbuanong Binisaya language used by the learner, that sometimes may cause confusion to the learner. If there are instances that the teacher encounters some difficult words in the book, they ask their co-teachers who have an idea about these terms. So this have challenged the teachers and parents to rely on their ability to make their lesson in mother tongue meaningful that would cater the needs of the learners, since the government did little to address them. So there are 4 themes that emerged as the challenges in implementing the MTB-MLE in their school. Proceed to our conclusions. The analysis and interpretation of the data gathered led to the following conclusions. First, teachers and parents held similar beliefs that MTB-MLE helped improve learners' understanding of lessons. They discussed the implications of this on classroom participation and learning. 2. Teachers and parents felt it was counterintuitive that a mother tongue approach could aid in English literacy development. Teachers and parents both expressed fear of the policy cultivating lower English skills despite their favorable responses toward MTB-MLE on the survey. Third, teachers and parents' actions for supporting the policy appeared to stem from their self-stated obedience toward DepEd and were demonstrated through adherence to policy guidelines in the classroom and at home. Teachers and parents worked out the expectations given to them from the top-level administrators. So while both demonstrated compliance as a show of support, a clear division was noted in the ways in which was shown. So teachers focused on the classroom aspect of the policy, while parents focused their efforts at home. Fourth, teachers and parents appeared to resist the usage of Sinugbuanong Binisaya for academic language, instead favoring English terminology. So these actions appeared to be based on their perceptions of what would benefit the students most. Fifth, the identified challenges encountered by teachers and parents were mostly brought about the apparent lack of preparation for the policy shift. And sixth, as this study demonstrated, teachers and parents both play a role in the way national language policy is understood and enacted at the ground level. Their involvement and the interactions between them contribute to the opening or restricting of ideological and implementational spaces. These are the spaces upon which policy success depends. Let's move on to recommendations. So based on the findings, the researcher recommends the following. First, the DepEd officials, school administrators, concerned communities, and NGOs must find ways to provide the schools with necessary mother tongue learning materials, especially the books, to ensure that teachers will carry out their lessons successfully. Second, the Department of Education should provide more learning materials. These materials should be updated and the content should be aligned to all other materials like the curriculum guide, teacher's guide, and learner's material in every grade level. Third, the materials provided like curriculum guide, teacher's guide, learner's material should be made by local experts so that the terms that will be used in the mother tongue are likely the same mother tongue terms familiar to both the teachers and learners in the area. Fourth, that DepEd should take into consideration the in-service trainings for teachers. It must be intensified for teachers handling kindergarten, grades 1, 2, and 3. Fifth, there is a need for a thorough information dissemination and or reorientation for stakeholders, especially the parents. And lastly, a comparative and experimental study between and among the private and public learning institutions will also be conducted in order to measure the mother tongue learning outcomes quantitatively. So here are my references. It has 11 references. Appendices. Appendix A is the parents informed consent form. Appendix B, the teacher survey. Appendix C, the parent survey. Appendix D, the research made written reflection form for teachers. And Appendix E, the research made written reflection form for parents. So that's all for my statistical paper. Thank you, ma'am, for listening and have a good day.